Calling this meeting to order at 6:32 on Monday, May 18th, 2020. First item of business, I must check with our board to see if anyone has a conflict of interest with anything appearing on the agenda this evening. Ken?
No.
Joe?
No.
Art?
No.
Tony?
No.
Tim? No. Okay. I apologize if anybody was calling in to check on the water board meeting. We canceled that as our issues that we needed to discuss in executive session were not ready to be dealt with. And you wouldn't have seen much anyway, except for us calling to order and going into executive session. Minutes. We have minutes that were circulated for May 4th. David, I believe those were the only ones.
Those were the only ones.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as circulated?
So moved.
Moved by Tony.
Second.
Second by Art. Any discussion, additions, or corrections to the minutes for May 4th? The question is, do we approve the minutes for May 4th as circulated? Ken?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Tim votes yes. The minutes for May 4th are approved by a vote of 5-0-0. We have warrants. Give me 1 second to bring those up. Okay, the first one I see here is check warrant number 30. The total amount is $42,282.07.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Tony. Second by Joe. Major items I see here include $1,000 to Aflac, $7,000 to Blue Cross Blue Shield, $4,000 to Cartographic Technologies. That would be our GIS for the listers, correct?
Yes, the listers mapping programs.
Right. $2,000 to Hathaway Electronics, and I bet that is rewiring the radar feedback sign.
That is, which should be functioning next week, we hope.
One more part and we'll have it. I have $3,500 and $100 to Innovative Surface Solutions, where we get our chloride now. $8,300 to TAM. $1,900 to Vermont State Treasurer. It says that is for animal licenses. And $1,000 to VLCT Property and Casualty Insurance.
That was a deductible that we had to pay them.
Oh, okay. I see several here for.
Was that hardware in that side?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Several items here to Northeast Municipal LLC.
Oh, that's a new
Call what that is, Dave?
Yeah, that's new part supplier that Mike uses. It's everything from signposts to signs to various tools, nuts, bolts, things like that.
Okay, and a lot of little charges to Green Mountain Power.
Every meter we have, which is everything from the speed sign to the little thing on the pump at the landfill, has its own meter. So we get a lot of Green Mountain bills.
Okay, very good. Any board discussion on check warrant number 30? Question is, do we approve check warrant number 30 in the amount of $42,282.07? Ken?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Tim votes yes. That motion is approved by a vote of 5-0-0. Next up, I see payroll warrant number 23. Total amount $21,381.79.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Tony,
Second.
second by Ken. Any discussion on the payroll? Question is, do we approve payroll warrant number 23 in the amount of $21,381.79? Ken,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Art,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Tim votes yes. That motion is approved by a vote of 5-0-0. Pardon me 1 second while I'm.
Bless you.
Nothing to worry about, just a little tickle in my throat.
Okay.
Okay, let me bring back up the agenda. Okay, we did minutes and warrants. Does anyone have any announcements?
We have Green Up Day is May 30th. It's the 50th anniversary of Green Up Day. It's going to be done a bit differently this year because we can't have people grouping together. The bags are available outside of the clerk's office at Cole Hall for anyone who wants to get them. We ask that families limit themselves to 5 bags, but we will not be having the stand we have here every year in the morning. It's just not allowed this year. And I'm going to look into the container to be put here at Cole Hall like we do every year. But Green Up Day is going on the 30th. The bags are available at Cole Hall.
Okay, thank you, David. Also want to mention we got an email from Jenny Rozicki at the Mccullough Library. She visited us last meeting and talked about the library functions that were still going on. We got a notice today that they are beginning very soon pickup of items. You can order items and pick them up curbside there. And if you go to their website, mcculloughlibrary.org, you will find a link to order items for getting picked up. And also, I did get an email a week or so ago saying the Bennington Free Library is also starting that up. One other thing to mention that was mentioned last time, it has been decided that in order to observe social distancing requirements during the upcoming elections, the primary election in August and then the general election in November, we're going to move the polling place from the firehouse to the town garage in order to give us room to spread out. And in association with that, we are going to be encouraging everyone to vote absentee to the greatest extent possible. You can order your absentee ballots now. They will become available 45 days prior to the election. But if you go to the My Voter page on the state site, which you can link through our site, shaftsburybt.gov, on the Turn on Clerk's page, it'll take you there. You can put in a request for an absentee ballot. It will show up within minutes in Marlene's email because we tested it and it worked. And she will have your request that she'll be able to honor, as I say, 45 days out from the election when the ballots become available. Do we have anyone wishing to make public comments? I don't see anyone, but the opportunity is open. Okay, item 7 is the treasurer's report, and we have our treasurer, Melanie Dexter.
Hello,
Hi.
everybody. Did you get the reports I sent?
I did. I'm pulling up cash flow right now.
Okay. I can tell you the big news on that is we did get $50,000 cash flow, the final cash flow from one of the schools. So we're in good shape for the end of the year. That's sort of the last thing we were waiting for. You can see there is that, it's so tiny, like the 5th line there. That's the first of 2. And so we've got about $200,000 in the bank. That's gonna get us through the end of the year, fine. We still need to pinch every penny, but I'm a lot less nervous than I was this time last week. I don't think everything else is pretty quiet. I did get to the bank. Boy, did they hate me. I had all of the cash from the transfer station, including well over $100 in quarters. They were not happy to see me. Let's see, anybody have any questions about the cash flow here? No? Okay. We can look at the reserve account. While you're pulling that up, there's not much going on there either. The truck CD matured, and Jim said that I guess they're actually going to buy a truck. So that when we see that 260 line when it comes up, the fairly large number, bringing that total up, you see down at, yeah, where that 7,000 there in the credits line, that's the maturing truck CD for the water truck. So that's what that is. That's not a huge amount of water money coming in. It's just that matured CD. Not much else going on there. Those other numbers you see are just money due the general fund. So I did a transfer earlier this month. Pretty quiet on that side of things too. The other thing is that last time I mentioned that I was going to have the paperwork ready for you in an upcoming meeting very soon to get the line of credit in the works for the tax anticipation note. I expect to have that paperwork for you at the next meeting. Any questions about any of that?
If I can just point out the garage, the 280 for the garage. That's a coding error on my part. I put the bond payment into the old
That's right.
reserve. So that's coming out of there. It's going to go back to $500 in the negative. That's a mistake. Instead of putting it as on the budget line, I put it back into the 280 fund. So we'll swap that out.
Yeah, that's
500.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, I think I'm done then.
All right, thank you, Melanie.
You guys.
Thank you.
Okay, our emergency manager could not be here this week. He passed along an email indicating things that I think most people probably already know. In particular, the Stay Home, Stay Safe is now called Stay Smart, Stay Safe, as we start to loosen the reins on the lockdown a little bit. People are still encouraged to stay home, but the Stay Safe, Stay Smart, Stay Safe is extended until June 15th. And there are lots of guidances on various state websites for different industries, but too many to report here. A significant one is that they are loosening the reins on some of the parks' activities. Dave, I understand our parks are open for business with proper social distancing, and we have signs up to that effect.
Yeah, it's basically all the parks are open and everything is available to use. Just basic rules. The first one being arrive, leave, play. Don't congregate in the park. Don't linger. Come in, go for your walk. You can play tennis, shoot some hoops, but leave. There's no congregating in groups over 10. There's no team sports and or contact sports. So you can't go out and have yourself a soccer game or play 5-on-5 basketball. We want you to practice social distancing, 6 feet apart, and when you're near people, you should please put on a mask outside of your group. And the big thing is there are no restrooms available. There aren't going to be any restrooms available, and we are not putting we had a porta potty up at Howard Park because the restrooms aren't open all the time up there. Under the guidance from the state, we would have to clean those 3-4 times a day. We don't have the manpower, we don't have anything to do that. So it also encourages the arrive, leave, play, leave. Just come in and enjoy the park, the hiking trails open, everything. So everything's ready to go. You will notice the playgrounds are wrapped up. That's part of one of the addendums 2 weeks ago. I think it was number 13. And they just don't want a bunch of people on hard surfaces one after another. And as soon as we get clearance for that, we will remove the wrap from the playground equipment. And that's about it. Just enjoy the parks, but please don't congregate in big groups. Don't hang around the parks. You know, go do what you came for and get on back out.
Dave, what's the status of the drinking fountain, water fountain?
It's not on, and it probably will be on in a couple of weeks, though.
Okay.
I have to check the date. We had a plumber lined up to come in and start it. We had a delay with the start from the state, so, but we will get that on because, you know, I'm gonna backpedal right here, Art, and say, I'm gonna check on that. A public drinking fountain in a park may not be something they want on, so
No.
I'm not gonna check. That's gonna be on. We might just leave it off for a while. I'll have to.
Yeah, we
check.
might have the same disinfecting rules on that we have on everything else.
Yeah.
So I'll check, but I don't know if that'll be on.
Okay, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
Okay, and on a related subject, town operations update. As I understand it, we are, Cole Hall is still closed. We are all working remotely when we can, providing information when we can. The town clerk is allowing research in her office by appointment, one person at a time is allowed in. They have to have a mask to get in. Surfaces are being disinfected throughout the day. Dave, what else?
We are going to probably remain in this mode for the foreseeable future. Just to give you an idea on having meetings here, to maintain 6-foot social distancing, we can only fit 7 people in our meeting room. It wasn't designed for a pandemic. It's just no way to do it. So there'll be no meetings here for quite some time. Everything is working. Everything is getting done. Permits are being processed. Our big challenge coming up will be payments. We're not going to be having payments inside the building. There's a deposit box outside. We'll have instructions when the first bills go out will be the water bills. If you want a receipt, you can just leave a stamped envelope in with your payment and we'll mail one to you. We just have to reduce the amount of people coming through the building and that'll just make it convenient for everyone. I think it's not that we don't get that many people who pay in person, but we need to maintain the rules of the building for the foreseeable future. What else we have? But yeah, everybody's working. I've only seen one thing about someone was confused about who was open or not, and a number of us saw it and all got back to the person and let them know that everything's open. You just email us or call us, get back to you. Everything is functioning. The road crew is back up to 100%. All the restrictions are off, and everything is rolling along at this point. So we're doing all right here. And I skipped over. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to the next item. Go ahead.
Okay, I meant to mention back with the treasurer's report. I spoke with Mark Snow today. He just wanted the board to know that the collections this year are at sort of 121,000 as compared to last year on this date it was 127,000. So it's just about the same as it was every year. So there's nothing behind. So he just asked me to mention that tonight.
Okay, there's nobody has any questions there. We'll move on.
I have to ask Dave a question just to recap on the green up on May 30th.
Yep.
You said the bags would be available at Cole Hall. When on that day or before that? Or?
24/7. The box is outside on the ledge outside of the clerk's office.
Okay.
So whenever you're driving by, each family can pick up 5 bags.
My daughter's always looking for something to do, so.
Yeah. 5 bags only though, so.
Okay. Can they be left side the road or do they have to come back to the dumpster?
People opt on that every year. A lot of people leave them on the side of the road. We pick them up.
Okay.
You know, but if you're throwing out a couch, we prefer you don't throw that on the side of the road. That happens every year too. So. But yeah, we do pick up bags every year. People do leave them on the side.
Okay, good to know.
I'm sorry, you said the bags are currently available?
Yes, they're outside and they're available around the clock. Kind of the honor system this year. And we won't have anybody here on the day of it because we can't have people congregating. So they'll be able to pick up the bags beforehand.
Okay, next item is the expansion of roadside commercial. Item brought to us last week by the Planning Commission. Ken started talking about expanding roadside commercial a year or so ago. The Planning Commission took up the issue this year, decided that the logical place to expand roadside commercial, if we chose to do that, would be from the village south to Bennington Town Line, which would connect our village mixed residential and commercial with the roadside commercial going north from the village and extend it down to the Bennington commercial zone, making a continuous strip through there. They sent a report around, which I circulated with anyone. And so we'll now open it up to discussion.
I've got some comments on it, if now is the time.
Yes.
We asked the Planning Commission to do this, and I thank them for the effort they put into it. I know they spent a lot of time and had a lot of people come in and all that sort of stuff, but I am disappointed in the results of it. If we haven't learned anything from this last 3 or 4 months, it's that this country cannot exist without commerce. I mean, we have to have the exchange of money for goods and services, and we're all the time trying to keep Shaftsbury this quaint little thing that, and if we're constantly looking back at what it used to be, we're not looking forward. And every time we just need commerce, we need businesses operating and all that sort of stuff. So again, I'm disappointed that they didn't extend it north up through. So if it was, a lot of it was based on the recommendation of the people along Bottom Hill, where there is quite a group of businesses there, and they all kind of wanted to keep it the same. So that's great for them because that gives them protection. Nobody else is going to come in and start up another business there. But for us, it isn't that great because if they go out of business and something doesn't come in a timely manner, the exact same type of business, it reverts back to residential, and we've lost another business in town, and we really can't afford to keep losing businesses. The ironic thing is that these people that wanted to keep it rural residential are the same ones that came in and wanted us to lower the speed limit because their customers couldn't back out onto the road safely. So they can't have it both ways. Either make up your mind whether you're going to be residential or you want a business there. So if they ever come to the board and ask for us to petition for a speed reduction, my vote is no, you want to be residential. I'm not satisfied, but I'm not going to tell somebody to do a job and then tell them how to do it. So we're going to have to accept this, but in the future, if I have anything to do about it, I'm going to keep pushing to try to see if a different board with different people on it or something would consider changing that.
Well, just by point of information, the Planning Commission advises the Select Board on such matters. But the Select Board decides on such matters, and so we are not bound to follow the recommendations of the Planning Commission. usually, I would say we're usually well advised to take seriously what they recommend. I would also recall that when we gave them this charge, the thought was that we were going to extend it north into areas where we currently have commercial operations. So that's just to say that's the lay of the land. Other comments?
I agree with Art 100%, but I think it would do the town be more advantage, I guess I would say, to ensure that those businesses at the north end of town can stay in that area and add to it, because it's gonna do more good up that way than it is to the south. There's more room to advance in the make a larger area. And we do need as much business as we can get.
Oh, am I missing something? Because you're talking about the strip going up past Howard Art Museum up the hill towards the town line, right?
Right.
Yes.
There's nothing there now, and I think there's nothing there because of a reason. Isn't that it's all swamp and rock and ledge and all that stuff?
Well, it's either rock or it's either swamp or ledges, most of it.
You'd really have to develop that land quite a bit.
You can't do that swamp at all.
So then
They won't let you.
why are we talking about it?
Well, you're not gonna get as much benefit there, Joe, as you would if they went north. That's what I'm
Oh, I
saying.
understand that.
I mean, if they want to
I'm
do
just wondering
south,
what made somebody think that was doable. You know, to be able to develop that area going up the hill. Doesn't look very feasible. Even if I was a business, I don't think I'd want to have it on a hill anyway. Just because of, winter, cars coming down the hill, can't get
you
up.
probably have to set it back a little farther.
Yeah. I'm driving by, I look to both sides and I'm just wondering where would somebody want their business in that area? But, I mean, it'd be good for solar panels, I guess, right?
They wouldn't put them down there, they'd have to work on it.
Okay, I was just wondering, like I said, I guess I'm missing something, so I just don't see how that's even usable, but I'm not a developer, so I need it, I guess I'm just asking a question for an answer.
Tony, you want to weigh in on this one?
No, I agree with Art. I was surprised. I thought we had talked about the northern part of Route 7 and not the southern part. There's not much area in the southern part at all. There's plenty in the northern, and in the past, that area was developed. And it seems like there are existing businesses that would like to expand. So I'm not sure what the planning board was thinking when they put this proposal together.
Well, if I could paraphrase them or put words in their mouth, they were, as I say, we had thought about expanding north. They talked to the people who were involved, the property owners, and got pushback from them. And so in order to accommodate the select board's desire to expand, they thought, well, it would be logical to connect up the missing 0.8 of a mile there to the south. It's not commercial. They did mention that some of it is not developable, but some of it they thought was. If it's the desire of the board to continue in this direction, maybe it would be good to have a joint meeting with the Planning Commission to talk about what the board's desires are here and what concerns they felt were prohibiting them from recommending going north, and see if there's further accommodation that could be made, or if, to make sure that we're considering everything that we need to consider before we decide to go ahead and do that.
I mean, I assume, is this voted on by the public after it's warned the right number of times and everything else like that?
Correct.
I just, if somebody votes no because they want to expand, I don't know. I don't, sir, I don't think that many people are going to vote against it the way it's presented. But on the other hand, I just don't see that this is the future for Shaftsbury. We're all the time looking back at what it used to be, and we aren't looking ahead for where we've got to go.
I think going south, we're kicking a dead horse. We're better off going north, like you said.
I hate to say this, but I think they just threw that in to appease us. To say, yeah, we extended your commercial zone, but only to the south. I mean, it was kind of like a.
Yeah, I agree, Art, I agree, yeah. You can't have it both ways.
No,
I totally agree with you, yeah. And I think it's in their best interest to expand. The more commercial you make that area, the slower the traffic's going to be. And more appealing. Right now it's sort of hit or miss.
Yeah, they don't have a leg to stand on when it's if they want to reduce the speed limit. No, you're residential, and that's what you asked for.
Exactly, absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah. Make up your mind.
So what is the board's desire at this point?
Do you want to meet with the planning commission?
I would say yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we call in the planning commission at our next meeting and express our desire to see the commercial zone expand northward and find out exactly the nature of the issues that they're concerned about. But I agree. Well, I see both sides. I do worry that we create strip development if we expand continuously from border to border, which is something that we don't want. At the same time, I am worried that if those businesses that are there go away, there's no provision to replace them except to do the same thing that is there now within a year of when they close. Otherwise, their grandfather would go away and those commercial businesses would be no more. All right, let's get the PC in next time and hash this out.
If we don't do that, Ted, if you don't work on that north end, where else can you go with more commercial in town? I don't see any other place, or very few.
Okay. Any other comments on this one?
No.
All right. Item 11, roads report. Dave, what have you got for us?
Okay. All the dirt roads have had their first round of spring grading completed. The second round is going on now. All the roads have been chloride. A few have not yet, but they will be because we have it. Ditching has taken place on the top of Horton Hill, Lamb Road, and a section on Madison. And all the new ditches will be seeded in hay mulch for erosion control. They've been replacing a lot of broken and stolen signs, and they have more on order, and that will continue. The winter plowing equipment has been cleaned and stored away for the season. And we've been doing a lot of project work, planning. Mike has with Chris from District 1 of V-Trans, looking at a drainage project on Tinkham Road to add 2 culverts to keep the water coming down into the Four Corners intersection. And it floods out the gentleman's property there on the side also. A new head wall for an existing culvert on LeClaire Road. It washes out since the fall of 2009 and needs to be fixed. There's 2 sections of White Creek Road where there's a bank erosion. We already have a V-Trans sketch and plan for that. We're waiting for A&R permission to do the work. And hydraulic studies have been requested for culverts on Cider Mill and Leclerc Road that need to be replaced, and we just have to get the right sizing from the hydrology people. Over the next couple of weeks, grading continues on the hit list of Daniels, Horton Hill, Murphy Hill, Shaftsbury Hollow, East Road, and Cider Mill. The weather permitting, which finally is getting to look a little nice. Seeding and mulching the new excavations, plus ditching will continue. The blacktop plant is opening, we think, this week. So we'll start patching some of the potholes. On West Mountain Road, there are 3 hazard trees that are going to be taken down on Wednesday, May 20th. The road won't be closed, but it will have some stoppages while this goes on, as it always has to when you fell the trees. They were reported by a landowner. There are trees, so we're going to have them removed. Let's see. There's a driveway culvert on north end of Perrin Road where the water is level with the road. So they're going to do some excavating and unplug that culvert so the water gets going. Of course, road signs will go. We just had the cap inspected, our annual inspection of the landfill cap, just one minor repair, so that's good. It's been in very good shape, really. And we're into the mowing and maintaining of the parks. And everything's had one go around now, and people are using them, so we'll keep up the mowing and all that for the parks. Right now, the equipment is in good shape. We have a few issues with the John Deere. We're looking into it. Mike's getting me some estimates of what to fix and whether or not we should truck it up to the place in Williston, I think. I could be wrong. Because it might be cheaper than them coming down. It's with the mold board, and there's a number of parts that are worn, and it's kind of giving it I understand, a little bump as it's grading. So that is our primary grader. So when we get the price, we may do that before July 1st, if the money exists. But it is
Dave, isn't there a John Deere dealer in Springfield?
Yes, there is, but
It'd be closer.
maybe I'm talking about Springfield. You're right. I'm talking about Springfield, not Williston. Williston was the Volvo. Thank you, Ken.
Right, yeah.
Right. So we might truck it over there because they charge a lot to come down, and if they come down with half the parts they need, they come back. So he's working it up, and if we need to do that, we'll do that before July 1st, because that is the primary grader, and we just need it. The cat is good. It functions in a pinch, but everyday grading may not be the best for that either.
Dave, why is that compactor roller we got for the grader sitting at the garage?
Say that again, Ken?
The roller that we got for the grader,
Oh, yeah.
it's sitting at the garage. It's been all spring.
Yeah, I don't think they wanted to use it on the first go-round, just because it's rougher and it's wetter. Will be good for compacting as the second go-around going into the fall. That's
I was getting the idea maybe it wasn't good at shop.
No, I think it's just in there because of the wetness in the spring.
Okay.
Dave, the last meeting I said I would look into some of the problems that we had with the older tandem. I talked to Deluries. The major things are not something that we think are going to come back again. The oil pan sprung a leak, which is quite typical of stuff that's installed all the time. Of course, they had the air EGR cooler, which I think we're going to be reimbursed on. But one of the big things was the rocker arms loosened up, and that is not something that is typical. So we don't think that's going to happen again. And did you know that we've been charged for a turbocharger, about $2,000 for a turbocharger that has not been put on? If they aren't going to put it on, they will credit us back. But they ordered it and charged us for it. So it's somebody's got to decide whether they put that on or not.
Yeah, I think that was ordered last fall, and we didn't want to do it going into winter. So I'll check with Mike and see if he wants that. We can just get that credited back if he doesn't want it now.
He said it would be a day's work, and of course that's easily $1,000 or more. So okay.
No, okay, I'll check it with him.
But I don't think it wasn't, if you start having electrical problems with these newer electronic engines and trucks, sometimes you're better off getting rid of them, but this is not some of that problem. So I think it's a solid truck to go for another year or two.
Yeah, I kind of think so too. And one of the goals we had, not a goal, but it turned out we had to do a lot of extra work on trucks that was probably from accumulated not doing enough work on them.
Yeah.
So the amount of money we've spent on some of these has been quite a lot in 2 years, but they should not need these kind of repairs again. So I expected it to go up, and I think we hit the peak last year or this fiscal year, and it should all come down lower. And we raised, as you know, our maintenance, the amount of money we have in maintenance, because that was unrealistic too. Having $1,000 for a tandem dump in 1 year for maintenance, realistic. So I think we're over the worst part of catching up on maintenance here.
Okay.
And this truck should last, and we do have the $10,000 credit when we turn it in also. Or we can apply that to the one we just bought, either way, if it's settled in time. Because the filing date was last week, the final day to close was May 11th, I think, to file for it. So we'll see when it clears to the courts.
Dave, just a thought, if we have a constant problem with the oil pans on those international trucks, maybe when you buy a new one, just sandblast the oil pan, put a coating of fiberglass over it.
Another one, there may be an option to have them stainless steel.
Yeah, well, whatever, but I mean, if
Yeah,
Ford had a problem with that for a while with their pickup truck.
yeah. I replace them with stainless steel, and but I think the wise thing to do is if we could get one on, put stainless steel on it when we order it. But I don't know if that's an option or not.
I didn't know if it was available. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll look into that.
Is that it for roads?
Yeah, that's all I have for roads.
Okay, items 12 and 13, a whole lot of stuff about ordinances.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about animal control ordinance separately?
Yeah, that one we can just do first, and we can't really complete that because Tracy hasn't gotten back to me with her comments on it, unfortunately. So the big issue with the ordinances, this is something that she's wanted to be written for a long time. This is basically the VLCT standard ordinance, which I've just tweaked for Shaftsbury. The big addition that I like is adding a nuisance of potentially vicious dog. This is the dog chasing people down the street, nipping at them and everything. It gives us a way of addressing those kind of things, where it says specifically it chases, worries, or threatens to attack or attacks another domestic pet, causes property damage. These are some of the things that we have a little bit of trouble with the way our ordinance is written now. Most of the rest of it is really just rewriting and clarifying what we're doing now, which would be much better when we start trying to prosecute these, is to be more in a state standard for this, because we want to get people into Superior Court. You know, it's either pay the waiver fine or we're going to go to court. And as you know, I've talked to the sheriff about them being the enforcement officer of this, not, something has to be issued, so that people take this seriously. It's like with the licensing provision. We've been going around with that for years now. And we just need to make sure that people understand that they really do need to do this. He had some concerns about the timings that are in later sections, what constitutes a second and third offense. But it's always been my experience in court that you better have it lined out what constitutes a second or third offense. You have to have a timeline set on it. The amounts for the waiver fines I just put in here, based on things I saw in other towns. We can all discuss those at a later date. But like I said, unfortunately, I don't have her full reply. I'd like to hear what she has to say about this. She wants to work on it. She asked me today for Word copies of it, which, I sent her this morning. she wants to tinker around with it, but we can take her input and bring this up at the next meeting.
Okay.
The next one's, a few months ago, before all this stuff started, I talked about updating. We have a policy and ordinance manual, which has many outdated and inefficient policies and ordinances in it. So tonight I started with the first group that I would either like the board to vote, because we need to have a vote on each one to repeal or if you want me to rewrite it, I can rewrite it. So we can just go through them in a certain order here.
Would you like me to bring up that summary
Yeah.
document that you wrote on them?
Yep,
My opinion is that pretty much explains it.
Yeah.
And we'll look at that and see if anyone wants to go into more detail on any of them. Give me a second. Okay, it starts off talking about the continuing education policy.
Yep, and this is from 1992. It's not necessarily a bad policy. I don't think anybody here has ever used it. This one can either be dropped as something we just don't do, or if the board would like to continue it, I would like to rewrite it. It's not changing much, but reissue it, because this was issued in 1992. So I think it's basically, we reinforce that it's there, or we just let it pass. It's completely up to the board.
What do you want to do? Take a vote on each one separately?
I would rather have a vote on each one separately so someone can come back in time and say, well, wait a minute, they voted this. Because as we're going to come up, we're going to have some policies and things here that don't have any signatures on them or anything. So I want to make sure that we have recorded votes, because I go back through the books now to try and find when these were approved, some of these things. And we can't have a book here that has things that are no longer valid.
I make the motion that Dave rewrite it. I think continuing education is very important.
We have a motion from Art to order Dave to rewrite the continuing education policy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tony. Discussion? Dave, can you paraphrase what this policy says? I see that it pays $3,000 for online credit courses.
No, that right now, this is just an example for you. A current online free credit course costs about $3,000. So that would be the cost if someone did it, that we'd reimburse. The policy as it stays now says that the course will further the performance of the employee. This is how they would be approved. The course is applicable to the employee's position. A grade or B or above is required, or a certificate of completion, and prior approval by the Board of Selectmen. It's a pretty straightforward and simple policy, but if we're going to do it, I think it should be reaffirmed in this century.
Yes.
Okay, then I'll rewrite that, and I can have that for the next meeting.
Any other discussion?
Dave, you may want to go with UVM rate.
UVM rate, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just doing that as my checkbook rate, paying for my online summer course for my daughter.
Right.
So this would pay employees of the town to take college credit courses. Is that the idea?
Well, I would say college courses, or there's certain trade courses that would be very effective for some of the road crew if they were looking to, expand their abilities. So I wouldn't keep it directly college courses, no.
And online courses cost $3,000?
Yes.
And that would be a course in how to properly grade a road or something like that?
Well, hopefully that would be cheaper, because this one's a 400 level history course. So.
May not be.
You can get that out of a book there.
Yeah. You don't have to limit it, because the board could vote on each individual one. I mean, something, if there's some really powerful course that would be worthwhile, it may be the board thinks that's worthwhile to do.
And how, there's also this, the Road Scholar program, Roads, ROADS,
Yeah,
that some of our crew have been through. That's is that a state program?
yeah, and they're all enrolled in it, and they all have differing levels of training for it.
And we pay for that if they want to do
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just having trouble wrapping my head around who this policy is for. If the road crew wants training, we certainly give it to them. The clerk does her training out of her own budget. Can somebody give me a scenario where this policy would be invoked? I'm just having trouble.
I'm thinking the animal control officer may need to do a course on some new disease coming through, the animal population. I would put in there something about relevant to their position.
Yes, that is in here. It
Okay,
has to
yeah,
be relevant to the position, and the course will further the performance of the employee with respect to his or her duties.
and I'm subject to the approval of the town manager.
Of the select board, I think it should be the select
Oh,
board.
all right, okay,
That's how it is now.
all right.
Yeah,
Dave,
the road crew may have something like along environmental conservation laws or something like that.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
for someone ambitious too, you could take courses down at Hudson Valley in construction management and construction design and things like that. So there are options out there.
yeah.
Any more discussion?
isn't there something through the VLTC that provides education for things like that, or no?
No, I mean, there's an in-house Paxip University, it's called, which they've all taken courses on, and actually we all have at this point, but it's not the same thing.
Okay,
Other discussion? The question before us is, do we instruct Dave Kiernan to update the continuing education policy for the town? Ken,
Yes,
Joe,
yes,
Art,
Yes,
Tony,
Yes,
Tim votes yes. So that motion is agreed to by a vote of 5-0-0.
Okay. The next one is limits to liability coverage, which is from it started in 1992. It didn't pass till 1994. This is, I don't know what this was supposed to be. It says the town will not maintain a liability policy to cover any expenses related to criminal charges brought against an employee. All this stuff is covered under our policies with Paxif, and we should not have anything that's talking about what the town's going to cover and not cover outside of our policies. So I would just think this just needs to be rescinded.
I make the motion, we delete that.
second,
I have a motion from Art, seconded by Ken, to rescind the limits of liability policy the town currently has. Discussion? The question is, do we rescind the limits to liability policy? Ken,
yes,
Joe,
yes,
Art,
Yes,
Tony?
yes,
Tim votes yes. By a vote of 5-0-0, we agree to rescind the limits of liability policy.
Okay, the next one is from 1997, Supplemental Highway Department's Specifications Policy, overtime during summer months. This used to require a verbal majority of the selectmen to approve any overtime during the summer, which means if we had a tree down, we would theoretically have to call at least 3 members of the board, have an emergency meeting to vote for someone to go out and cut a tree up. So it's just not practical. We have a professional manager running the DPW, and I just don't think it's necessary. I also see my computer's dying, so I'm probably going to have to call in a minute, because it can't be hooked up to my base right now. I'm gonna go off camera for a second here and see if I can fix this, but I can still hear you.
I
Okay.
make the motion, we rescind this one also.
Second,
We have a motion from Art, seconded by Ken, to rescind the summer highway overtime policy. Discussion? The question is, do we rescind the summer highway overtime policy? Ken?
yes,
Joe?
Yes,
Art?
Yes,
Tony?
Yes,
Tim votes yes. So by a vote of 5-0, the summer highway overtime policy is rescinded.
Okay, the next one is from 1988, and it has to do with civil defense organizations. Civil defense is now emergency management, and this just shouldn't exist at all. You can't even follow it now. So I would just ask that this be rescinded.
right.
so move.
We have a
second,
motion from Art, seconded by Ken, to rescind the civil defense ordinance. Discussion?
And just a correction, it should be a policy, although they've typed ordinance on here, it was never passed as an ordinance. It's just stuck in the book as a policy.
Okay, without objection, we will let the motion read, shall we rescind the civil defense policy?
Policy, okay, yep,
Further discussion? Question is, do we rescind the civil defense policy? Ken?
yes,
Joe?
yes,
Art?
yes,
Tony?
Yes,
Tim votes yes. So the civil defense policy is rescinded by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, the next one is from 1993, requiring compliance. It's appointing a coordinator to be the compliance officer for the Americans with Disabilities Act. There was no coordinator required under the ADA for an organization with less than 50 employees. So this has been here for quite some time, and we don't have one now, and I wonder how long it's been since one was appointed here. So it doesn't apply to us, and I think we should just rescind this also.
so move.
second,
Motion from Art, seconded by Ken, to rescind the ADA grievance policy coordinator policy. Let's see, the ADA grievance policy, would that be the correct title?
Yeah. Mhm.
coordinator,
Okay. We're calling it the ADA grievance policy. So we're rescinding the ADA grievance policy, which includes the position of a coordinator. Discussion? The question is, do we rescind the ADA grievance policy with its included position of coordinator? Ken?
yes,
Joe?
yes,
Art?
Yes,
Tony?
yes,
Tim votes yes. So the ADA grievance policy is rescinded by a vote of 5-0.
The next one is delinquent tax collections, timing of deposits. This is from 1991, requiring something to be done in 2 weeks. State law allows the delinquent tax collector to do this within 2 months. So you can't have a policy that requires something to be done that state law says doesn't need to be done. I've spoken with Mert about this, and Mert makes deposits every 2 weeks anyway. It's just one of these policies that it conflicts with state law. If we had a delinquent tax collector and he said, I'm not going to do that because the state law says I have 2 months, we would just have to agree anyway. So it's just something that should get out of the book so that there's no confusion over it.
so move.
second,
I have a motion from Art, seconded by Ken, to rescind the delinquent tax collections policy. Discussion? Question is, shall we rescind the delinquent tax collections policy? Ken?
yes,
Joe?
yes,
Art?
Yes,
Tony?
yes,
Tim votes yes. So by a vote of 5-0-0, the delinquent tax collections policy is rescinded.
Okay, the next one is one we've actually talked about, but we didn't have a formal vote on. It's temporary closing of Shaftsbury highways. This one goes back to 2001 and has a long list of people who are to be notified every time we close the road. I will admit there have been some problems in the past years of not proper notification, but we have switched that up as we did with the construction in the hollow, where we sent postcards to every resident who was going to be affected by it. It was well signed, and I think the current way we do things, if a road has to be closed, people are notified of it. There's detours posted, and a road closure can be something that just comes up quickly and is a short time frame. So notifying 50 people here is not productive.
Do you find it necessary to write in the policy that we do follow now?
No, I think it's standard operating to, there's an intelligent way of going about this. And I think
Okay.
with the leadership now, there's enough experience to understand, especially like an undertaking like the hollow that's going to take more than a day, that there has to be widespread notification. But a lot of things, but you're going to put a culvert across the road, that's a one-day operation, and it's just really not enough to be worthwhile notifying all these people. I mean, the important people are notified, which is really the dispatch center that's going to send anybody anywhere, and any local residents that will be affected by it.
Okay, we can always write something in if it starts being a problem. So I make the motion that we rescind what is written now.
Okay,
So I have a motion from Art, seconded by Ken, to rescind the temporary closing of highways policy. Discussion?
So this is just under revisement, right? Just making revisions to it, to the current policy or
No, that's what I asked Joe. He's not gonna write anything in there. We're gonna,
Okay, so gonna go fresh.
yeah,
I think we just let this one go, and if we have a need to, we can write something up. But there is a common
We're
sense.
gonna just expunge the old, come in with the new.
Yep.
Okay,
Well, the idea is we're not going to replace this policy. We are going to trust the road foreman working with the town administrator to deal with these situations intelligently, which is what we do now. We have not followed the policy for quite a number of years.
Yeah.
Okay, the question is, do we rescind the temporary closing of highways policy? Ken,
yes,
Joe,
yes.
Art,
yes,
Tony,
Yes.
Tim votes yes. So by a vote of 5-0-0, we rescind the temporary closing of highways policy.
Okay, and the last one is, I believe it was intended to be a policy. It's just stuck in the book. It's from 2002, and it describes the way that the contributions to healthcare insurance policies, none of which is in effect now, none of which is relevant now. It just needs to be taken out of the book. It's part of our personnel policy now, our contributions and all that. So this can be the key here. So we just need to be removed.
Second,
So we have a motion from Art, seconded by Joe, to rescind the healthcare policy. Discussion? The question is, do we rescind the healthcare policy? Ken,
yes,
Joe,
yes.
Art,
yes,
Tony,
Yes.
Tim votes yes.
Can I ask
So,
for an amendment?
Healthcare policy is rescinded by a vote of 5-0-0.
Can we just make an amendment to that and date it, the policy of February 2002, so there's no confusion with the one that followed?
I'm in agreement with that amendment.
If without objection, we will by consensus agree that that was the motion that was just passed.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
And there will be more of those, and there's gonna be, changes. So I'm gonna have this on a regular basis now, until we get through this entire book. So,
Dave, thanks a lot for doing this.
yeah,
It's, thank you very much.
it's
God
overdue.
love you. God love you.
These are the easy ones. Some of these are gonna get much longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, it's
Like
hard.
the highway, parking and speed ones and all that, that really needs significant updating also, so.
Yeah.
I'm saving that for later.
Okay.
Hey, Dave?
yeah, go
Where
ahead.
do we have our sheriffs patrolling now anyway? Are they in town or more out in Shaftsbury Hollow?
Or what?
The sheriff's department, we're paying them to police the in-town village or out in the hollow?
We pay them to
Yes.
patrol the town.
Right.
Yeah, so they could be anywhere. In fact, I saw two today.
I think I need to make the distinction. It was, what I meant to say is they're in the village, but they're not. I just had a lot of people at work were saying, hey, why are what's the sheriff's department doing in Bluefield and Howell down in Shasta? I said, I don't know, I could ask, but last I knew they were supposed to be in the village running around, around this way, but
No, townwide.
they can't go there.
Yeah, townwide, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of, with the summertime coming, a lot of four-wheelers, off-road vehicles are going up and down the road where they shouldn't be.
So there's need for enforcement that way.
Yes, exactly.
Well, for what it's worth, I was driving through the village, turning around in Ken's driveway today, and I had to stop and wait for the sheriff car to go past me. So he was headed into the village. So they're still doing that as well.
I missed them.
Okay, is there any other business this evening?
Yeah, I just want to let the board know that we're a meeting with the parks. We'll change it on the webpage too. We're going to have a parks meeting, a go-to meeting this Friday, because I need the committee to also approve. We want to get some construction contracts out. This is not from the budget. These are reserve funds and the bequest to the parks funds held by the Board of Public Trustees. There's a large drainage project for Howard Park that is part of the municipal road general permit requirements. The new sign for Howard Park, and we want to fix the basketball courts. So we will be discussing this Friday with the board, the committee, the rec committee, and then I'll be bringing in bid documents at the next select board meeting. So we can.
Is that money we already got, Dave?
Yeah, it's all reserve money. And part of it is even a bequest specifically to be used for Howard Park. So this has nothing to do with the budget. It's completely outside it.
Okay.
The same thing for the cemetery is we had a cemetery committee online last week. They're planning out some repairs. We're still talking about the fence at the main cemetery down here. And all that money also is coming out of reserve funds. It's not coming out of the operating budget. As you recall, at town meeting this year, we finally got the vote to change the repurpose a reserve fund to correct a mistake from years back. So that money's there to be spent, and it's time we're going to do some additional work in the cemeteries in the park.
Has the cemetery revisited
Did
the
anybody
question
ever
of?
check?
Go ahead, Ken.
Did anybody ever check Lowe's where I told them about that steel fence? If I work over here,
I'll have to think about that. I remember you talking about that, and we talked about so many fences last year.
because if they try to paint this, that is beyond ridiculous.
No, that's already gone because I had our environmental engineers look at that, and to paint that in place is you'd have to build like a whole huge tent around it, all kinds of stuff because of the
Just like
lead.
they do on their bridges,
Huh?
just like they do on those bridges.
Like they do on the bridges.
Vacuums and all the whole bridge.
Yep. So that's not going to happen. So they're looking into options now. So we'll see what happens with it.
Has anybody got a feeling for what we might have to cut in the budget to accommodate less taxes coming in? Is it a little bit too early to start thinking about that, or? I'm just concerned.
I think we're, over the last 6 years, we've completely eliminated all the town debt except for what we just borrowed for the garage. So we're actually, I think, in a really strong financial position going into this. And I think because we don't collect until November, or that's the deadline, I think we just see where we're going.
Okay.
There's no way to predict how quickly each individual town around here is going to recover. And our portion of the property taxes are the smallest part of anybody's tax bill in this town for the municipal part. So I think we just, we see how the collections go. Most importantly, we see what happens with the state. The state is the
Yes.
bigger issue here. And everyone's kind of speculating, oh, they'll be down 8%. Actually, they have what they're calling the skinny budget, which is taking 8% off every department at this point. If that's necessary, maybe, might be more, but until we see how quickly reservations go up, especially with the oncoming summer season, for the hotels, the restaurant taxes, all that, it's very hard to predict. Will we get all the funding we normally get from the state? We hope so, but we won't know that until, that could be months off before we know that. And we have ways, if need be, because we're not facing like we had nearly what $260,000 in debt payments 6 years ago. Now we have just the garage, where I think it'll be 78 next year. Most of our money is going to the reserve fund, so we can work on things. So we can, you know, I think we just see where we come in. I don't know if we're going to be that bad off.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to ask back on cemeteries. Has the cemetery committee revisited the general cleaning of headstones that was undertaken a while back, and then they decided the person that they thought was going to do a great job was not doing a great job?
Oh yeah, we've already done quite a number at Grandview, and that's going to start again. And there's another section, I think it's the Huntingtons up here, that is going to start again. We have a different contractor. I don't want to say, I think I know who it is, but without the document in front of me, I'm not sure who's working on doing that. That's going to be an ongoing project now for the cemetery committee.
And my second question was going to be about Huntington, because we have that special endowment just to maintain Huntington family grave sites. I want to make sure that that's being taken care of.
Mm-hmm. No, they have another list for that this year too.
Okay, very good. Other business, anyone?
When are we gonna have another meeting on the water board?
When we hear back from them? They have received the letter that we sent, and because it's a contract negotiation, I don't want to get into any details about it. But we're waiting to hear back from them. We have not heard back.
Oh no, I didn't want to get into it. I just.
Okay, action items. We are going to invite the Planning Commission to come to our next meeting to discuss our desire to open Roadside Commercial north from where it is now, as opposed to south. We are going to revisit the animal ordinance once we get comments from the animal control officer. And Dave was charged with rewriting the continuing education policy. Anything I missed?
I don't think so.
Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Moved by Ken,
Second.
second by Art. The question is, do we adjourn? Ken?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Tim votes yes. By a vote of 5-0-0, we are adjourned.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Gentlemen.
Good night, everybody.